Hi everyone, this is Molly McCord and welcome to another teaching video where we're going to look at this natal astrology chart and talk about it through the lens of career and profession and what this person needs to know about their professional gifts and what they're here to offer through their career. Now please know this is not a comprehensive reading. There are many layers to a career and professional reading, plus it's beneficial to be in conversation with someone to understand who they are, their choices, where they're at, what they need. There's a lot to this area of our lives, but this video is going to talk about the general themes of the chart, and this is a more advanced teaching. So this is for you if you already have a basic understanding of astrology, you've gone into some of the other charts, you know what to follow or what to look for. We're going to go further in this chart and look at some more of the layers of energies. And so in this chart we have a Sagittarius midheaven here. That is at 7 degrees Sag, 51 minutes, and the midheaven is always between the 9th house and the 10th house in a chart. So basically it means that the energy starts in the first house at the ascendant and goes all the way around in your chart, and it accumulates into what you're here to offer. The midheaven is your energy that you put out into the world, how you're recognized, how you're viewed, how others see you as an expert. It describes your career, professional energies, your status in the world, and your job title. The midheaven is where you go to understand more about what you are drawn to energetically in a career. And so that's why it's a really valuable place to understand your energy. So in this person's 10th house, we see that it is in Sagittarius, which means it's ruled by Jupiter. Now that's important, okay? But before we talk about Jupiter, we also have to look at the 10th house and all the planets in the 10th house. Planets in the 10th house need to be expressed through the career. That is their home. This is where they are here to contribute to your energy. This is where they're here to really make the most of what they are able to do best. And it's through the 10th house of profession, career, job, the world, and your gifts and what you give out into the world through those gifts. So in this chart, we have 3 planets in the 10th house, and they are also each in Sagittarius. So we have Saturn at 14 degrees of Sag, Uranus at 23 degrees of Sag, and Mercury at 24 degrees of Sag. So all 3 of these planets are here to be expressed and experienced through the 10th house of career and profession. If we were to quickly summarize each one, Saturn is where we have to devote energy to do something tangible and real. Saturn is where we have to work for the rewards. We have to put in the time. Uranus is where we want freedom and independence, where we like to express ourselves as an individual. Maybe we like to do things our own way, to not be held back or held in. It's where you want to create your own rules. And then Mercury is where and how you think and where you want to share information, you process ideas, you have your bigger thoughts. So in this chart, this person will need to work in her career to really create her vision, which is the Sagittarian energy, her bigger vision, her bigger ideals in the world. She has to take those visions and make them real through the energy of Sagittarius, through the daily work and discipline and responsibility, no shortcuts. And then there is the Mercury conjunct Uranus energy here. See, they're only a degree apart. And this is quick thinking, big thoughts, a big vision, do it differently, do it unique, be different, have different solutions, different insights. It's quite dynamic. It's fast moving wherever Uranus is. So there's a lot of energy here. Okay, there's a lot here that's all ruled by that Sagittarian desire to experience something bigger than oneself, to have that bigger dream, that bigger calling. There's the idea that, what can I do on a big scale? Anything with Sag is big, and it wants to be recognized for that. So this can be showing up through Sagittarian ruled professions, which include publishing, higher education, legal, religion, anything that's the bigger scale, like these umbrella industries. Now, these are just some general themes, but the idea here is to understand that the Sagittarius energy is so strong. So it needs to be a career that allows for change, mutability and adaptation, allows someone to keep growing and keep expanding. Sagittarius is about learning. How can I stay interested, mentally interested in my work, in my career? How can I keep going bigger or do more? Where is there new terrain to discover? They need change. They need dynamic energy. Like they cannot get bored. So that's really important to understand in general with all these Sagittarius planets. Now we look at the next layer of energy, and that's that Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So we go to Jupiter in the chart, and you can see here that Jupiter, is right down here at 16 degrees of Pisces in the first house, and it is conjunct, we're going to call it conjunct at 21 degrees Pisces Mars. Now, these are in the first house of self-identity. Jupiter in Pisces, at its best, is inspired and creative. It wants to serve a bigger purpose. It wants to do more in the world. It wants to be the energy that can follow the inspiration. However, the Pisces energy can be inconsistent, and it can kind of basically wishy-washy or change with the energy, change with the tides. It is not about consistency. You have that energy conjunct Mars, and Mars in Pisces is not at its best because, again, it can feel deflated at times. It can feel too receptive, that it takes in too much, especially in the first house, that it's dependent upon external circumstances in order to feel inspired. So the Pisces energy isn't always consistent. So what you have here is you have Jupiter in Pisces that rules all of this Sagittarian energy. So you have the desire for a big vision, the big sense of I want to go for it, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to accomplish, I want to see, I want to experience. These are my big thoughts. But they're ruled by this Jupiter in Pisces, which can feel defeated at times, can feel stuck, can feel discouraged, because this energy doesn't have a lot of balance or objectivity. It's very subjective. And so the career desires are ruled by how this person feels and how their ego feels. Mars is the ego. And in the first house, it's how they feel about themselves. So there can be frustration here. Now, this is also because of how Mars is at 21 degrees of Pisces, and it squares the Mercury Uranus conjunction in Sag. There's a square there, and then the Jupiter at 16 degrees of Pisces squares the Saturn. So there is a discomfort here between what wants to be created and done and that big vision and where we're going and what I want it to be and how it has to look right and great solutions, great ideas, fast. Like this is a fast moving energy that gets slowed down and almost stuck in this. Maybe they have to continually surrender. This is the energy of surrender. So the Pisces energy surrenders, but the Sagittarius energy is ego and that fire, and I've got to do this and get this done. And then you have frustration with the squares to these planets in the 10th house because they're saying, well, it's not on your timeline. And then do you believe in yourself? Because that's also what this Jupiter in Pisces is about. Do you believe in who you are, first house? Do you believe you can do it? Jupiter conjunct Mars. Do you really believe in the bigger picture, which is Pisces? So there's this sense of, I know what I want and maybe I can't always see it or get there or get it done. So this person could feel that frustration between what she wants to create and feeling stuck that maybe she can't do it. And it can be that energy of a hot air balloon with fire and gusto and bigness, right? And wants to take off. But then when the fire goes out, that hot air balloon deflates and there can be frustration. So what we do is look to more of the energies in this chart to look, well, what is supported and what is important to this person in their career, where they can find that energy. Well, look here at this first house. Do you see how big the first house is? The ascendant at 21 degrees of Aquarius begins the first house, and then the first house has all of Pisces, and it goes to 8 degrees of Aries, which is ruled by Mars. So there's this big first house. Okay, so this is a big part of their life where they're going to have a lot of energies that they experience is through that first house. And we look to the ruler of the first house, which is Aquarius. And Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. So it sends us back here. So Uranus is really strong for this person. This means an individual, an entrepreneur, someone who works for themselves. They have the energy and the space to do things their way. They don't want restrictions. They don't want to be fenced in. They want to be able to run with it and do things at their own tempo. Okay, that's really important. So when you see that first house is ruled by Uranus, that brings more power to Uranus. Then we look to see, okay, we know that the Uranus in Sag is ruled by Jupiter, right? Jupiter in Pisces. And we can see how this energy of Jupiter in Pisces is getting a beneficial trine from Venus at 19 degrees of Scorpio. Okay, so Jupiter is actually supported by Venus. Now, Venus in Scorpio, she needs to trust people in relationships. She might want to do things on her own. She is looking for the big money, the big investments, and she could be blessed with that. She could have the right connections and resources show up. She feels powerful when she does things her own way. And because she's in the 9th house of vision, it reinforces the Sagittarian energies of vision. So again, it's someone who really wants to do something big in the world, and she wants to make money from it, of course, but she wants to do it in a way that maybe feels right for her, because Venus in Scorpio, she feels things and she has to, again, trust herself. So this brings up how this individual is really trusting themselves and to trust their vision and to trust what calls to them and to believe in their power, to believe in their ability to work for themselves or to do things their way and to not take on too much of other people's feelings about them. And with Venus trining Jupiter, well, that's great for money. That's great for that sense of being able to create abundance on your own. Now, in this chart, we also have a supportive trine here. Saturn at 14 degrees of Sag is being trined by the North Node, which is at 16 degrees of Aries in the 2nd house. The 2nd house is a money. So this person is here to work hard in her career, to understand the vision, to keep going, to know it's a long-term building process. And as she does that and as she believes in herself, then she is truly working with her North Node in Aries to do it her own way, to stand on her own feet, to have the courage and the independence to do what she needs to do based on believing in herself, like that sense of self-value is in the 2nd house, and then that's how she'll make money. So do you see how there's many components here that lead up to the midheaven? That what you're looking at are these general pieces that you put together into more specifics for the story. So this is someone who needs to work for herself and to work hard, to not give up, to not be defeated, to understand that it's important for her to do this for herself and on her own. The other thing to look at here is that the Saturn energy is one of her planetary rulers, because her sun is at 4 degrees of Capricorn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So both Saturn and Uranus are really important in her chart. They are her two rulers. Uranus is the chart ruler because it rules the ascendant, and then Saturn is her personal ruler because it rules the sun. They're both in Sag. They're both in the 10th house. This is a lifetime of career advancement, working in your career, a lot of energy being devoted to the career world, to professional building, career building. And it happens in phases. With Uranus there, things can happen quickly. With Saturn there, some things happen slower. So there's that understanding of how these energies are all working together, but it ultimately comes down to how she's continually believing in herself and watching where she gets deflated, watching her daily energies, watching where she feels the energies rise and fall. And when she feels anything like a setback or discouragement, the higher energy of Pisces is there to remind her that sometimes you have to surrender, and you can't force it all through your will or your ego or your timeline. You have to surrender to the bigger cycles of time and energy, and that is not under her control. That's not anything any of us control. So there's these big energies of trust in her chart, to trust and have faith and to keep working, to keep going, to trust how she's different, to trust her unique ideas, to understand that she's here to contribute in a different way, in a fresh way, in a interesting way, that she's not here to do it as everyone else is perhaps doing it in her industry or her field. She's here to be a unique individual who works hard for the continual fulfillment of that long-term career goal, and to know that she's building it as she goes, and that the bigger picture here is supporting her as long as she continues to believe in herself and to put in the work. So I hope this gave you a little bit more insight into how these energies can work together, all the discussions that go on, and just to give you an idea of how important the career energies are, and that they can show up through so many different places in a chart. So thanks for joining me, friends, and I'll be back here soon for another video.